old phrase, Amrit, that is just a stock phrase of the world because it's truism. It says knowledge is power. And everyone goes, oh yeah, knowledge is power, blah, 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 blah. And I go, no. Let me say it in a way that might be relevant to us now. I say, a lack of knowledge is a lack of power. And I say, we have been deprived of knowledge of who we really are, how powerful we are, because all the knowledge we get in growing up is how weak we are, how vulnerable. Oh my God, viruses are coming, parasites are coming, blah, 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 blah. Everything's falling apart. And I go, well, that's not true. It is true if you don't recognize your power. And I say, well, what power? And I go, well, one of the first things that disempowered us was the belief that genes control our life. Oh, why does that disempower us? I go, well, simple point. It says that as far as you know, you didn't pick the genes you came with. If you don't like your characteristics, you can't change the genes you came with. And then I add this little last one, the creepy one that says, well, the genes turn on and off by themselves without you. And I go, then why is this relevant? Well, if the genes are controlling my life and they're turning on and off without me, I am, definition, a victim of my heredity. Oh, there's heart disease running in my family. Oh, I'm going to get it. Cancer. Oh, I'm going to get the cancer. It's running in my genes. I go, that's a bunch of BS. Oh, that means belief system. That's a bunch of why is that relevant? And I say, because the idea that genes turn on and off by themselves is the biggest false story that you bought into, which took away your power because it says genes control you, you don't control your genes. And that's why you look at your fate is what genes did my mom and dad give me because my future is going to be determined. And I go, completely false. Genes cannot turn on and off. And I go, we've been programmed. Gene turned on. Cancer gene turned on. Gave me cancer. I go, no. A gene is a blueprint to make a protein. And I go, okay, let's unpack that. I go, yep. The body that you see in the mirror, look on the screen, see yourself, all that. I go, that is made out of protein building blocks. There are about 100,000 different protein types that come together, assemble them together. I make a muscle cell out of some proteins, make a brain cell out of some other different proteins. So if I, try to tell the audience, I say, well, proteins are like Lego kit, Lego parts. They got 100,000 different pieces, different shaped pieces. And I say, how you assemble the Lego can create a muscle cell, or how you assemble them can create a brain cell, a skin cell. And I go, so the point about it is this. Proteins are the building blocks, but proteins break down. So you have to replace them. But I go, oh, they're very complex molecules. And I go, where do we get the proteins when they break down? I go, we have DNA. I say, what's that? It's a blueprint on how to make a protein. I go, so what? I go, it's a blueprint. I go, so? I go, this is the story I always say. So you go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint. And I say, lean over her shoulder and go, hey, tell me, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at me and go, what are you, crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. It's a blueprint. I go, aha, you're finally going to get it. A gene is a blueprint. It does not turn itself on and off. It doesn't know what it does. It doesn't know why it's needed. It has no knowledge other than how to make a protein. And I go, but you gave power to the genes. That's what we did. Oh, the genes control me. And I go, no. It's like the architect story. There's a blueprint. Blueprint doesn't work by itself, but it works with an architect who can read the blueprint and even modify the blueprint. And I go, oh, well, if the genes are the blueprint, then who's the architect? I go, our consciousness is ultimately translated into chemistry that goes into the blood. And that chemistry is what controls our genes.
Rule number 3, take your power back.
It's time for us to wake up and recognize that there's a program being played out here. We're in a Darwinian program because everyone accepts that as, oh, that's the science, even though Darwinian theory is wrong because evolution isn't on competition. Evolution is cooperation. That's the new insight that changes the game of struggle into harmony when we start to recognize we all have been programmed with a belief that if you're not out there fighting, somebody's going to walk all over you and you lose. So you better go out there and struggle and win and fight and all that. And I go, again, a garden is not a battleground. It's the height of cooperation and harmony. And what we have to do is let go. And the idea is the more you invest in the existing program, the more consciousness you feed that existing program, the more you broadcast the pattern of that existing program. And the only way out is stop. Does that mean I don't read the news? Well, actually, I don't read it. I just read the damn headlines, and that's enough for me to go, okay, I don't want to be there. I live in a different world. No, I'm in the same world as you. No, but I live in a different world. Why? Well, sometimes we have to recognize maybe it's time to take your power back. Maybe it's time to take your job back and do something that is more in harmony with your life. I mean, I was a tenured professor in a medical school, but when I realized I was teaching incorrect information that genes control life, which is totally false, I said, no, I can't do this anymore. And the beautiful part about it is, guess what? I'm living this most wonderful life. And I go, how did I do that? I said, I had to let go of the programs that I knew I was engaged in that didn't offer vitality, life, energy, love. If they didn't offer it, then get the hell off of it because it sucks your energy. Energy is life. I talk about what's called an energy checkbook. And I go, what's that? I go, you have a bank account. That's the money in there is your life. I go, yeah, it is. I go, you just don't write checks for nothing. Hey, oh, Lynn, what a beautiful blue sweater you have here. Let me give you $20. That was really nice. You know, you don't do something like that. And I say, we have been giving away our energy so much with no return coming back. I go, what do you mean? I say, well, you get into some like a political argument between people and they get all heated up and they use all this energy. And I said, and after the argument, what changed? Nothing. I said, then what the heck? Energy is life. You just gave away your energy. You're losing life. And that's when all of a sudden I realized, invest your energy into things that either enhance your vitality or the vitality of the world in which we're living. Because those are places to build a better world. To invest your energy in the negative things and all that kind of stuff like that, you're building a bad world with that. And you're using your own energy, your life gets shortened. And so the reality is consciousness is real. It's a currency. And if you use it and spend it appropriately, you can have a much better life.
Rule number 4, eliminate negative beliefs.
Negative beliefs are equally powerful in controlling your health as are positive beliefs, except in the opposite direction. A positive belief can heal you from any disease. A negative belief can kill you by creating any disease. A belief can create the disease as much as a belief can create the healing. And I go, so the significance of this is profound because nobody talks about the negative belief. And I go, negative beliefs are powerful. It's called nocebo, as you mentioned. And as I said, they can cause any disease and they can kill you. Just because you believe you're going to die, you can die just from the belief. Just as much as you are dying of a cancer, you change your belief and you can then heal the cancer. I go, I love this because a friend of mine, her name is Anita Morjani, and she wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. She had 4 years of cancer. In the final days of her life, in the final week, she was so emaciated that the cancer lumps were sticking out of her skin because she lost so much body weight, and the cancer lumps were sticking out. She's on a machine for life support. She goes into a coma, and her oncologist, who's been working with cancer patients for years, says, oh, this is the final stage of a person before they die. So get in touch with all the family members and say, Anita is dying. She's in a coma. This is a sign that's the end of her life. And she has an out-of-body experience, a consciousness change, that the issues that were related to her life had to do with a lot of the fact that she was so feeling guilty of upsetting her family. She came from an Indian family with prearranged marriages. And she pulled out of a prearranged marriage about 3 days before the wedding, which made her family look like, low-class people. It's like, you broke a prearranged marriage. That's like against the rules and everything. That irritated her father, who she had a lot of love, but then that irritated her father, and then she felt she's now alienated from that love. That's what precipitated the cancer. her out-of-body experience on the last day of her life, according to her oncologist. She had an out-of-body experience of communicating with her dead father, who said, no, what happened on earth stays on earth. When you transcend, you're not there anymore, and everything's wonderful, and we love you, and all that. She comes out of the coma, and the first thing she says, I want to eat something. She was like, give me some ice cream. And she was like, what? Within a day, she was off the machines. Within a week to 2 weeks, there was no visible cancer anymore. And in fact, the doctors were saying, it's in there somewhere. And she kept saying, no, there's no more cancer. And they kept looking. And after a couple more weeks of looking, they said, no, she doesn't have any sign of cancer. She was on her last day of life with cancer. And a belief changed, that she realized her father is not angry with her. She didn't alienate the love of her family. And that thought, when she woke up out of the coma, was the placebo, in a sense, of the healing thought that healed her from her last day of life. So people with cancer, and they're all struggling, I go, even to the very last day, the moment you change that consciousness is the moment you can have the cancer go into remission and disappear. Killing the cancer cells is like, oh, I'm going to get those evil cells out. I said, the cells were just following the instructions that came from your consciousness. You don't want evil cells, then change the evil thoughts coming from your consciousness. The cancer disappears. So it's a power that we have. It's a power of our creativity, which we don't believe in. And I go, okay, quantum physics is the most valid, truthful science, in the sense that the theoretical understanding of quantum physics matches every experiment that has been understood about it. I go, well, let me tell you the first principle of quantum physics. That principle is consciousness is creating our life experiences. You want to change your life experiences? Don't change the world. Change the consciousness. The world will change behind that.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action.